And that rousing, upbeat techno song can only mean one thing. It's Frank's World TV, um, streaming to you live. And um, let's see. There we go. Frank's World TV streaming to you live. Hopefully, Andy Leonard will be able to join. He's got we originally were going to stream together right about now, but he had something come up, and he hopefully will join a little later. Otherwise, we will stream together in the not too distant future. Let's see, do I have overlays here? There we go. Couple things. One, there's a really great, if you follow my LinkedIn post, there's a really great webinar coming. And how do I edit this? I'm going to edit this right now. If you had any doubts that this is a improv show, here we go. Free webinar on AI in ed. Hang on, bear with me. Just thought of this. Let's see, how do I show this QR code? There we go. It's Friday, man. Yesterday we had a great event at Red Hat Summit Connect in DC. Well, technically it was Arlington. They had a really good presentation with our joint presentation with our federal CTO. Really went well. Was a great audience, great crowd. So a lot of those folks are finally joined me on LinkedIn or followed me on LinkedIn or connected. Thank you for that. What I came across my desk today is right here. See, I'm getting better at this whole pointing at the thing. Is a free webinar on AI in higher education, and definitely check it out. And if you have any questions, let me know. It's a free webinar, October 19th. It's going to be 2 to 3 p.m. British Standard Time, so be kind of early in the day for those here on the East Coast. But definitely check it out. Two very great speakers, Guillaume Mautier and Damien Eversman. Both have a background in IT in higher education. So let me hide that. There we go. I think I had the chat up. I see I have a chat. Oh, there you go. There's the overlay. So the topic of this video is actually a Homelab, adventures in Homelab. So recently for work, I had this come up where I needed to set up a Hadoop server. And I did have one set up. I had some configuration problems. Then I had some hardware problems. But that got me thinking, like, and watching YouTubers like Network Chuck, kind of go through this. I'm not an infrastructure guy. I'm definitely a data scientist, and before that, I was a developer. I mean, you would have to go back to when Kurt Cobain was still alive that I did any type of infrastructure in any serious way. Maybe when Biggie Smalls was alive, I think was the last time I did anything in that regard. But in the interest of learning and self-improvement and just doing some fun geeky projects, I picked up a refurbished Dell R630 server. You can see it over there. It's been an interesting journey with this machine because when you buy a server, there's a lot of assumed knowledge, right? And all things that I learned along the way. And if you look there, so basically it has mounts for hard drives. This particular model is the 8 hard drive bay. And what they don't tell you is they tell you like, oh, it has this many bays. But what they don't tell you is that you need something like this, a caddy, to make this work. You need to have, make sure nobody's looking for me. There we go. You need to have these in order for you to do that. You need to have this to screw the hard drive into before you can insert it into the bay. So I got this thing like earlier this month, and just between work and all the other things going on, I haven't really had a chance to experiment with it. Today, I finally got it booted up because it looks like the assumption is that you're going to boot off an SD card. I don't have that. I only had the USB flash drives that I've been basically moving a lot of my machines over to Linux. And so uh, the sharp-eyed among you will notice that that's running Windows Server 2002. Yes, it is. And part of the reason is that I know Windows better, right? And my real reason for moving my personal machines off of Windows has more to do with Windows 11 than necessarily Windows. And the egregiously short lifespan we have while Windows 10 is still supported. Actually, it's October 2024. So basically a year from now. And I bought, all this hardware is, I mean, not new, but I still think they got a good 5-6 years left in them for one purpose or another. In fact, when it comes to desktop PCs, I don't buy a lot of them. So I tend to buy a stock model and then kind of upgrade it over time. And then, but this machine here, which originally I named it DeLorean, people are watching this are like, what the heck is going on? You're a data scientist, Frank. What are you doing here? So this machine here has a sticker on it that says it works with Windows Vista. It has 4 gigs of RAM. Not really sure what I'm going to do with it, but it's I am loath to throw out desktops. In fact, I think it was only when we moved last year that I finally got rid of some old. I still had an E machine chassis, right? So which is kind of crazy when you think about it. Hey, Andy.
Hey, Frank.
No camera on you, but I do have your audio.
I know it's odd.
Andy, your cloaking device is on.
I tried turning it off and back on again. Let me join from another browser.
Yeah, sure.
All right.
See you soon.
Alrighty.
All right. Hey, this is a live show. What do you expect, right? It's Friday afternoon. It's that beautiful crisp fall air. It's all kinds of good stuff. But yeah, so I am loath to throw out desktops, much to my wife's chagrin. But in any case, because they can always do something, right? Like you can easily get 10 years out of a desktop. And here he is, back with the program, Andy Leonard, my brother from another mother.
Hey, Frank, it's great to see you. How you been?
I'm doing all right. It's been a busy week, and I gave a lot of presentations this week, including yesterday at Red Hat Summit Connect.
I saw the stream from that.
Yeah, it was cool.
Looked exciting. You were dressed up all snappy.
I even shaved. I had my hair combed. Yeah, it was pretty wild. So the Red Hat Summit is kind of like, Microsoft has Build, and they have Inspire, Ignite, and all that. Red Hat, AWS has reInvent. Yep. Red Hat does this thing, Red Hat Summit, and it's usually, last year it was in Boston. It's the first time they had it in person for a while.
Nice.
And actually, I stand corrected. I think they did it in person last year.
Okay.
So then they do these little sessions like they would do for, I think Replay for AWS, reInvent, and then Rebuild, right, for at least the developer stuff. So it was cool. So this was the DC version. So it was definitely focused towards the federal crowd.
Sure.
And it was at a really nice facility called Convene. And it's basically like an event space that overlooks the city and like the 30th floor. So you have a really nice. And yesterday was a beautiful day. Like, so you could see forever.
Oh, yeah, it really was.
And it was a fun event. I spoke in conjunction with our federal CTO on basically what AI can do for agencies and what Red Hat has to offer in that space, as well as some of the stuff with Ansible that they're doing.
Cool.
So there's this product called Ansible Lightspeed with Watson Code Assist, and it's like a co-pilot. Not
Yeah,
I don't know if Microsoft has trademark co-pilot yet, but it's looking that way.
probably.
Um, but it's going to be, it's, and I think you're going to see a lot more of that in terms of large language models,
Yeah, yeah,
because the one language model to rule them all isn't practical. In fact,
yeah.
I'm sorry, I cut you off.
No, I was going to say we did a recording, and I think we released that show with that company talking about like swarms of
Yes, I think we
models.
actually,
Remember that?
I think we did release that one. So I'm going to take
Yeah,
this section, at least since you joined the live stream, and
yeah.
turn it into a show. But
Okay.
I am woefully behind in my
Look, look,
podcast editing.
you need to stop right there because we're both slammed with life and business and stuff, and it's a fantastic problem to have most of the time. We've had
Right,
a
right.
couple of challenges. Each one of us has had a challenge or two, but it's been mostly good, and I'm very thankful that we're. I know because we keep up.
Yeah, yeah.
We're on the we're both beyond the most recent set. I I part of my problem is I've just been so busy with work, which is a phenomenal problem to have if you're a consultant, right?
Especially if you're self-employed, right?
Right, right. Independent
That is
consulting.
that's
Yes,
the problem you want to have, right?
exactly. So it has, and I only have a few minutes, but I figured I could go to about quarter till,
Okay.
and that gives us about 10 or 15 minutes here to chat. Um, I saw the you built a home lab. I know that, and I saw your title, Adventures in Building a Home Lab. Um, I'm jealous of the box you got. I
Well,
built one at the end
don't
of
be
last
don't
year.
be. Oh, really? Okay, cool.
Yeah, yeah.
So
So I've got, and I think we're both going down the same path. We're looking for kind of a beefy desktop slash rack system that we can play around with some of the AI stuff locally.
Well,
And
it's funny. That's actually not my goal for this home lab, at least
no
in
way. What are you doing?
way. So I work for Red Hat, and a lot of and the product I sell, Red Hat OpenShift AI, is built on OpenShift, right? And I know not a lot about OpenShift, right? And I
Okay.
don't know a lot about containers or just kind of the fundamentals that when I interact with colleagues who are experts in this, I sit back and I watch like, whoa, like that's like magic. So and part of it is two reasons. One, it's a lot cheaper to set up a not AI home lab.
It is actually. It turns out about almost a year ago, I had this
Mhm.
dream, and I started building about 10 months ago. I think I started acquiring parts like November, December, and then in January we actually put it together. When I say we, I watched Stevie put it together. He is my mechanic and computer assembler,
Oh,
and
cool.
the and I was trying to. It was not possible at that time. Well, it wasn't practical. I'll say it that way to do something um, with some of the AI engines that were out there in January. But that really changed around, gosh, the summer, this past summer, a couple months ago. So it took about 6 months before it got to where I stood a fighting chance at it. My biggest mistake, I'll confess, Frank, was that I I thought because it had been so long since I bought a desktop,
Mhm.
I thought a 12 gig GPU was a lot. It's not. It's not big enough at all. It's about half the size of the little one you need to do this. So, you know, and then my daughter started college, and so my um, I'll say my budget changed.
Which is probably good. You're super busy if you think about it.
It really
Um,
is. So anyway, but you're doing the OpenShift thing, and you're going to do that
yeah.
on premises, are you?
So I could spin this up in the cloud and learn, but the problem with that is that you know um, it's going to cost something, right? And like
Yeah.
I want to learn. I want to understand how to put together services. Ultimately, I want to build a NAS and kind of like a home media server
Nice.
and stuff like that. Um, but it's been a hardware adventure for me for the last, I'd say, 12 months, right? Because a year ago, I got myself a Mac.
Right.
So this is an Apple Silicon M2, and the battery life on this is phenomenal.
You were telling
Phenomenal.
me about it and the memory. You were saying like you can't even compare the memory to, Intel.
This only has 8 gig, and I've never encountered a memory issue. Like it's supernatural. Like
That's
it's
cool.
like if this were like Salem in like the 1600s, this would be burned at the stake because it just shouldn't be this way. When I went to reInvent, which was my first major conference last year, and I spoke at it, shameless plug. Um, the um, the fascinating thing was, when you go to these big conferences, right, or even the smaller ones, right, what
Sure.
it's wherever the outlets are is where people tend to congregate. They're like little
Where you need to
oases
sit.
in the desert, right? Like little communities like pop up. But I didn't have. I mean, I could go a full day and a little bit more with on one charge. Like
You were saying that. I remember that.
it's
Yeah.
unreal. Like, and it's just like, I can't go back in terms of like a laptop and portability, right?
Yeah.
And I'm never going to get away from Windows, nor necessarily do I want to, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm moving away from Windows because of Windows 11 and how horrible it is. But that's a story for another day.
That I saw a note that they were doing something called Windows 2023,
Oh,
and my
isn't that's an update though? I think is
I
it or is it
heard, yeah, and my first thought was, all right, are you going to take some of the spying off of this,
right?
or what? Because the new box I built, Frank, was
Mhm.
as Linux. It's been Linux, and
Nice.
because you've been
Yep.
recommending Linux builds for me to use, and the latest one, the latest Mint one, it's
Mint
pretty
is
good.
awesome. Like
It
seriously, and
is.
like if you like, so there's a couple of things, right? And I know this is deviating from our normal topic on data science, but
But we're talking about home labs.
we're talking about home labs. So one of the things is, when you joined the call originally, when you had your stealth mode on, um, I showed this bad boy, right? And you
Nice.
see that sticker there?
Yeah. Oh, look at that.
Works with Windows Vista, Andy.
That's and that's your
Um,
new box, right?
no, no, not at
No,
all.
that's not your newest one. Okay. The new one is a
Um,
rack. I thought it
The new
mounts to a
one is a
rack.
rack. This is ancient. This is I used to name my computers after cars, so this is DeLorean.
Nice.
Now I go. I think you and I follow the same standard where we name it after ships in the expanse.
That's true. Yes.
Um,
The new
so
box here is Donager.
Donager, nice.
Yeah.
So this, I don't know what I'm gonna do with this. I'll probably call it the Canterbury, which for expanse nerds, you'll get it that it's really old. But this thing here is I tried Fedora on it. I didn't try Mint on it. It's really
Yeah.
old, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
I downloaded and installed Chrome OS Flex on it, which essentially is the Chromebook OS, and it's okay. Like it's not
Okay.
gonna break performance records, but I don't need it to. And
But it's an old machine. I mean, if you can get an old machine working, that's a
right,
win.
yeah, right, exactly. So my wife it gets a little annoyed because I think it took me to move before I finally got rid of some chassis. Right, I was no joke. I had an E Machines chassis that I
I
threw
have
out.
four.
Oh, nice,
Four.
nice.
One of them is running the Andy Weather data collection stuff.
Oh, nice,
And
nice,
it's Windows 7 Ultimate 32-bit.
nice, nice,
Count them, 2 gigs of RAM.
nice.
Yeah.
So,
But they're great for that, right? I mean, you can, and you're four of them. I'm thinking I'm going to chain them together eventually, but
yeah,
I
I
keep
mean,
interrupting you.
no. I mean, no, it's exactly right. So there's a YouTuber I follow called Network Chuck, and he has the best videos on this. So he's the one that kind of inspired me, like, hey, I probably could do a home lab. So one of the things I now that I'm not spending tons of money on lawyers, right? Speaking of, um, although it's not over yet, but
Oh,
um, which is why I started with the cheap option for the home lab, right? So I picked up a Dell refurbished R630, right?
nice.
It has a 16 gig GPU, which is
Bigger than mine.
yeah, but not by much, not to do anything. And it's a family show, right? Like, Sorry.
I just took a drink.
I know. I realize. I'm sorry on multiple fronts there. Yeah. So the funny thing is when you buy one of these rack servers, there's a lot of assumed knowledge, right?
Okay.
That I don't have. I last time I did infrastructure stuff was when I was
Yeah.
at barnesandnoble.com,
Oh wow, Frank.
right? And
How many years back?
that was I think Tupac was still alive. You know what I mean? Like it was a long time ago. Um, so so comes without a hard drive,
Right.
but the description on Amazon was not really. It was only $250, right? It's not going to
And
break
it's
the
got a
bank.
60 gig GPU. That's you
16.
got a deal right there.
Well, it's also 96 gigs of RAM, which is kind of nice.
Yeah,
Um,
that's a steal.
and I have an old laptop that somehow it was my wife's old laptop. Then my son took it. My oldest son took it, and then he cracked the screen. So this was around Christmas. So mom got a new laptop for Christmas,
Cool.
and he kind of got her cast off and things like that. So it was just sitting in a box. And I'm like, hey, let me boot this up. Let me see what I can get on it. I had Fedora running on it, and then I looked. I was like, oh my god, this is 32 gigs of RAM. I need to do something with this. So that's going to be another server.
Nice.
But this thing here, I just got Windows 2022 on it, and the server edition, and so I got this like earlier this month, but you're seeing me hold this here. It needs a drive caddy. Like you can't just trust me. I tried. You
Oh,
can't
yeah,
just
yeah.
like sneak it in. You could, I
Yeah.
guess, but so I had to buy this. I had to wait for this to come in, and
Gotcha.
I got has two little solid state drives in it. So one's like 250 terabytes. I'm going to boot off that, and I have a terabyte. I mean gigabyte, and then so I have 1.2, 1.21 terabytes. Um, but but I have that, and it's cool, right? I don't have a server rack per se. I just gonna put it on like a metal shelf or something. But
Yeah,
like
yeah.
all these little things, and it's cool. What makes it cool is like all these little things I'm learning as I do it. Like I had to
Sure.
mess around with the the UFI settings, right, and the boot settings and all that and stuff. Something I typically don't do. I only do when something breaks.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
kind of like my DNS skills, right? It's usually like something's fouled up, and I have to get on that. And so yeah, so just booting it up, I'm so proud of myself because I had to convince it that it needed to boot off the USB stick, not the SD card slot, which apparently is
Yeah.
set up. So like little stupid things like that, and this right, like, and then
Right, right.
how to find a tiny screwdriver, and like it's just been a cool little project, and it's just like it's frustrating when it doesn't work, but when it does work, you get that nice dopamine rush. Like I figured it
Well,
out.
I think the frustration informs that. So the more
Yeah.
frustrating it is when
Yes.
it finally works, it's like, ah,
Yes.
you
You're like,
know,
ah.
that's it.
But the cool thing about this is that it's got 96 gigs. On the 32 gig machine, I was running three different VMs in parallel using Hyper-V, and I never played around with Hyper-V, right? So
Right.
I never really had to do a lot of virtual machines.
Yeah.
When I did, it was all like in the cloud, right? It was all magical. Whereas
Okay.
what's nice about this is that it's very real, it's tangible, right? Oh, now I can understand, I can have a better appreciation for what happens in the cloud.
Yeah.
But when this thing starts up, it's loud. It's got like 16 fans in it. Like it's crazy. Like,
Nice.
and what's really cool about it is it actually has, excuse me, I'm coughing.
Me too.
Dell service is something called iDRAC, which is basically remote access control.
Nice.
So you go and you can actually manage the machine from a browser.
Oh, cool.
And since this is the older version, it's like a 5, 6 year old machine. It's only you only can do it in Internet Explorer apparently.
Okay.
Um, um, Thomas wrote, "Yes, I did miss out on Hyper-V. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was just so wrapped up in the phone, Windows Phone. Then I got into data science, and the rest, as they say, is history. But
I hear you. Frank, I
um,
got to jump. I've hit my time
okay,
limit. Got to get ready for my next meeting.
well,
But
cool.
this
You have a
was
good one.
awesome.
I'm gonna continue to stream, but this will be the end of the podcast portion of it. So,
That's it.
awesome, man. Have a good one, and I'll talk to you later.
You too, brother. Thank you.
All right, bye." Yeah, so that was a great little thing. Yes, I did miss out, Thomas, on the revolution that was Hyper-V. Although I'm starting to dig it, and I realized that I could probably get it working on my main daily driver. That would be kind of cool to do. In fact, one of my, well, not my greatest regret, but one regret I have is I knew a guy that he would boot off. He would have one kind of central thing, and he could like multi-boot based on Hyper-V, solely based on Hyper-V. Yeah, so the I just got Windows Server installed. I'm going to install Hyper-V on it, and I'm going to install a bunch of kind of Linux VMs. The eventual plan is to migrate this box over to some RHEL, basically Red Hat Enterprise Linux. Um, I'm waiting to get my developer license key. I suppose I could pull some strings and get one internally, but for now, I'm just going to do that, and I'll have the other machine maybe run Windows. But realistically, once it's up and running, it's probably going to stay up and running. But it's been a fun experiment in terms of getting this to work. And I've learned quite a bit about hardware, software. Um, yeah. And I'm probably not going to do any AI experiments or local language models on that machine. I probably will end up doing it on a revision 2 sometime after the holidays when I build out a fancier thing with a better GPU. Oh, excuse me. So that's it from Chateau Lavinia. We've definitely had a lot of cool experiments, and it's good getting back into hardware and stuff like that. I actually picked up a new hard drive, so I'm going to this is 4 terabytes. But I also picked up, I didn't talk about this, is a pre-built NAS, right? Um, yes, so I will get to that 1 second, Thomas. So this is a let me load up that page. Give me a second. Science for higher ed. Let me put it down there. I'll load that up. So one of the interesting things is what I really needed, right? We needed a place to put photos, right? Family photos and stuff like that. And the cloud, yeah, you could do that. But wanted kind of a shared server that we all had access to internally. And so I had a MyCloud, like an old MyCloud, but they discontinued support for it, which is kind of annoying. Plus, it was 2 terabytes, and I actually ran out of space. The new one I have is actually 2 4 terabyte drives, but they're in a RAID array. So if they're basically duplicated. So if one hard drive crashes, the data on it is preserved. So I have that set up, and so I've been backing up photos and kind of getting all this stuff, clearing out these old hard drives, and then moving it into the NAS. And then eventually, I'm going to take some other hard drives I have and then port it to this. And then I'll have like a proper NAS running on kind of custom hardware. I've seen a lot of YouTubers kind of do this where they do video production and they store everything in one place so that way they can access it. I do kind of a poor man's version of it where I put everything into OneDrive and eventually it kind of syncs up. So if I'm out on the road with the Mac, I can sync to that. And when I'm home on this, it syncs to that. So not exactly the high performance version, but it does work. All right. So Thomas asks, that session in higher ed looks good. Can I talk about it a little more? Yeah, absolutely. So let me share my screen. You can kind of look at the page. Can I do it? Can I do it? Looks like I can. All right. So on October 19th, British Standard Time, there's going to be a webinar. It's free to attend. You just put in your information. It's basically going to cover the history of data science, introduction to OpenShift AI, capabilities for higher ed and research, as well as some use cases and a demo. I know these speakers, they're awesome. I'm not speaking at this, but he is the chief architect for education at Red Hat. He's awesome, very smart guy. This guy Guillaume is super smart. He used to work at a university. Now he works at Red Hat. I believe he used to be the chief technology officer of a university. So like he knows, he's a data scientist now, although he would describe himself as a data engineer, but he works. The Um, link, please. Sure. Let me. I have this fancy thing. I'll paste it in the chat, or I'll DM it to you. But there's the thing, and I think it should have put it in the chat. But yeah, you can scan that QR code, um, and I'll leave that up. So it really, um, you can kind of, what's great about having their perspective is Damien has a very good kind of academic. How do research institutions do this? Guillaume was a CTO for a university. Now he does data engineering, data scientist, data science. So he can give you get a really good perspective, not just on data science, AI, and all that, but also kind of, what are the needs for an academic institution from kind of an administrative point of view, as well as from a research point of view. So yeah, so definitely check that out. I will paste that link in the comments if you want. Let's see if I can do this live. I made a fancy little shortcut thingy. Where is it? Let's see, copy link address. What will happen if I go into LinkedIn, into my own live feed, and paste a link? Because there we go. All right, so it's not like I made the universe divide by zero, although it is weird seeing myself on the screen, kind of like in real time, like, or not real time, but like 30 seconds behind. So if I do, we'll see how long does that take to go. And it would help if I did this. There we go. Just like it's weird to hear yourself talk for the first time, it is weird to see yourself on video that's that's like that. Um, let's see. Oh, very cool. So you're going forward to your, oh, very cool. Yeah, please do forward that. Post link here or post link in private chat. I do have to get going. But if you have any questions about that webinar, let me know. If you want to, I can't exactly arrange, VIP backstage access, but I can definitely connect you with two speakers on that. And any other questions you have in regards to that, I'd be happy to. And that goes not just for you, Thomas, but everybody. But Thomas, of course, you get the special treatment. So with that, I am going to end this feed. Say thank you very much. Have a great weekend. And I will talk more about my Homelab another time. Hopefully, once I get some of the services up and running. So with that, I'm going to end the stream. Thomas, you have a fantastic weekend. I am going to play my outro graphic and wish you all a great one.